So thanks to Buzzfeed News getting the now redacted account of the closed investigation done by the Delaware County Sheriff's Office into Myka and James Stauffer, we know what was investigated. We know what's going to happen going forward. So let's get into it. The case of Myka and James Stauffer. So the report that was issued by the Sheriff's Office on June 9th goes into detail about the investigations that took place, and it ends with the fact that they feel that Huxley is in a good position, in a safe and loving environment, and that going forward there be no further investigation by the Delaware County Sheriff's Department. I have several questions. I have several things about this investigation that I thought were a little odd, because it seems like the investigation solely happened because of two things. The first being the public nature of the adoption of Huxley, and then therefore him being placed into another home. The police felt like that gave them enough justification to conduct that part of the investigation. They also went into making sure that none of the other children in the Stauffer household, their biological children, that none of those children had been abused in any way. Now, when it gets into that type of a situation, it almost seems like this part happened solely based on people reaching out to the sheriff's office. People with no intimate knowledge of the family outside of what is portrayed on YouTube. And this to me seems pretty unprecedented on how far-reaching this investigation was. Now, it did end with the Stauffers facing no criminal charges, and we'll get into some of the individual things. And as much as I do not like the Stauffers and think that everything they did with poor Huxley was exploitation for their channel, exploitation of a minor to purely as a cash grab, they don't see it that way, but I think the majority of us do. But the fact that a lot of this investigation, they even looked into, was Huxley being child trafficked, and the possibility of that, because there had been money raised for the adoption itself, which the Stauffers claim was just $800. They talk about the adoption process in total cost $42,000, so they're showing that it was nowhere near what was raised in the GoFundMe. But the fact that some of those extra things, child trafficking, abuse, potential abuse of the other children in the Stauffer household, it doesn't seem like there was really justifications to investigate those things outside of what people from the internet were saying and were contacting the office. So that's the only thing that I'm curious to see the Stauffers' next move. I'm curious to see if they go after certain media outlets, or if they hope by staying quiet this goes away, which I think we know it's not going to. As Myka has said in her last statement that she wanted to get more out from her side of the story, I am very curious to see if they try to go after people in a civil way. I think that's something to watch for. So I think the biggest thing from this investigation that we can all be excited about, and justifiably so, is that Huxley is safe and happy. That was emphatically said by the Delaware County Police Department, and that makes me extremely happy, because so many of us have been, that's been the whole purpose of my videos. That's been the purpose of most of your comments, have been his welfare, and I thank you for that, and I know that we can all breathe a sigh of relief maybe for the first time. There were comments that I saw in my videos about, was he still alive? And I'm glad that early on we could say, yes, he is still alive. But thankfully, we can say that he's being taken care of. He is happy. Detectives even comment about observing him with his new mother, that them signing back and forth, him seeming happy. There was no agitation. Huxley is a wonderful, talented, smart young boy who deserves the best childhood that he can have, and who deserves a childhood free of being exploited, which we know was done to him by the Stauffer family. And so now he can live his life out of the public magnifying glass on him. He can just be a child. And he is a child with special needs. And those are being attended to as it should be. So the final part of the police investigation into the Stauffer family touched on Huxley and his new family, that no formal adoption process had taken place yet. Although because of international adoption, as we've talked about in previous videos, that doesn't have to happen. But they are working through an actual adoption agency and do plan to legally adopt Huxley. That is the last that has been said by the new family. So post-investigation, really everybody's asking that question, and has been asking that question really throughout this process. Do the Stauffers get canceled? I think the answer, in terms of a family channel, for sure has to be yes. They've done everything as a family-based social media channel, content, etc., that you should not do. Utilizing your family, exploiting your family to move product, to further line your pockets. And as much as they want to act like they didn't make any money off Huxley, we know that's not the case. They built their entire channel around the adoption process of Huxley. They went from less than 10,000 to more than 700,000 subscribers, largely off of Huxley. Although they don't want to admit that. They probably don't even want to believe that. But it's true. I don't see how Myka can come back with any type of a family channel. I don't even necessarily see how Myka can come back on social media, period. But we know they're going to try. With a sizable channel, they're going to try. They're going to come back. James has already come back with Stauffer Garage. And I think from the way his channel is built, he's probably not going to lose a lot of people. He's not really an on-camera presence for the most part on there. You're there because you enjoy watching that type of video, not necessarily anything of the family that's behind the video. So I think that channel is probably going to continue to thrive. And like I say, you're going to see Myka come back in something. But if anything, this national lens that was put on this story has made it so that influencers, family channels are going to be put under a microscope. And hopefully, more children in the future will not be exploited like this again. That will ask questions, that will demand answers going forward from anybody that seems to profit off of their children. And it has been a pleasure hearing your stories of your adoption journeys, of you adopting children. That has touched me so much about this whole series of videos. So as we end this saga with the Stauffers, until something else happens, if it does, I'll continue to keep you updated if something comes along that is of interest. But I think as we come to pretty much an ending on this Stauffer saga, I just want to thank you. It's been a pleasure to get to know you, to get to hear your stories, to get to see the concern that you've had for Huxley and for other children in this type of a situation. Don't quit having that passion in your life and online. Your voice matters. And sometimes you have to be the voice for these children that can't speak up for themselves. So everybody that had a concern for Huxley, you should feel very vindicated. And you should feel very proud of yourselves for demanding justice and for demanding an investigation and for getting it. You made that happen.